While America threatens 26% tariffs on everything from cars to curry powder, India just pulled off something economists didn't see coming, turning trade punishment into a 7.2% GDP victory. I know what you're thinking. How does getting hit with tariffs make your economy grow faster? Stay until the end, because the strategy India used could rewrite how emerging economies survive superpower conflicts. But before we dive in, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment. I subscribe. And I'll personally welcome you into the family. With that said, let's get started. Let me introduce you to Rajesh Kumar. He's 34, runs a textile export business in Surat. In 2023, Rajesh lost 40% of his US orders. His biggest client in Texas ghosted him after Trump's first tariff announcement. His wife asked if they should sell their apartment. He told me, "I thought Trump's tariff threats would destroy us like they did in 2018. And he wasn't wrong to be scared. The IMF's January 2025 report predicted India's GDP would shrink by 1.8% under sustained tariff pressure. Every major financial institution was betting on India's collapse. Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. They all downgraded Indian stocks. But here's what shocked Wall Street. India's economy didn't shrink. It exploded, 7.2% growth in Q4 2024, the fastest among all major economies. China? 4.1%. Thus, 2.3%. You? Barely 1%. So what did India do that China, Mexico, and the EU couldn't? I'm going to break down 5 moves that turned India from tariff victim into economic powerhouse. And trust me, move number 4 is something no other country has even attempted. Here's the first move, and it's pure strategic genius. India didn't fight the tariffs. They weaponized them. Think about it. When someone puts up a wall to block you, most people either bang their heads against it or give up. India did neither. They turned around and found 10 other doors nobody was watching. The Harvard Kennedy School published a trade policy study in December 2024 that broke down exactly what happened. Countries that aggressively diversified their supply chains during tariff threats saw 12% export growth on average. India didn't just diversify, they went nuclear with it. Remember Rajesh? Here's what he did. In 6 months, he shifted 60% of his production contracts to EU and Middle East markets. He learned German trade regulations in 3 weeks using YouTube videos. He flew to Dubai twice on budget airlines to meet new distributors. His competitors were paralyzed by fear. He was moving at light speed. By March 2024, his revenue was 35% higher than before the tariff panic started. His kids got to keep their school. His wife stopped asking about selling the apartment. And here's the kicker. He told me last month he's buying a second factory. The numbers back him up. While US-India trade dropped 8%, India-EU trade exploded by 23% in just 1 year. India-Middle East? Up 31%. India-Africa? Up 19%. India-Southeast Asia? Up 27%. But here's what most people miss. This wasn't just about finding new customers. India fundamentally restructured how they think about trade dependency. Before 2023, 18% of India's exports went to the US. That's dangerous concentration. But it's down to 11%, and that percentage is spread across 40 different countries instead of 12. If you've ever felt trapped by one client, one job, one income stream, this is the lesson. Dependence is vulnerability. Diversification is survival. But that was just defense. The second move was pure offense. And it's where things get really interesting. When China got hit with 60% tariff threats, global companies didn't just panic. They went into full survival mode. CEOs who'd spent 30 years building Chinese supply chains suddenly needed a backup plan. Like yesterday. And India? India had been preparing for this moment since 2020. They'd already reformed their labor laws. They'd simplified business registration from 142 days to 18 days. They'd built industrial corridors with dedicated power, water, and transportation. They were basically the friend who shows up to help you move with a truck, boxes, and pizza already ordered. McKinsey Global Institute documented this in their October 2024 report. $250 billion in manufacturing capacity shifted from China to India in just 18 months. That's not a trend, that's a tectonic plate moving. But let me show you what that actually looks like on the ground. Meet Priya Menon. She's 29, runs a supply chain software startup in Bangalore. For 3 years, she pitched her company to investors, got rejected 47 times. She told me she was about to shut down and take a corporate job just to pay rent. Then Apple announced their India manufacturing expansion. Then Google, Microsoft, Tesla suppliers, everyone. Her software that helps companies manage multi-country supply chains? Suddenly every venture capitalist in Silicon Valley wanted a meeting. She closed a $4 million series last November. Her exact words: "The tariff war made India the hot investment destination overnight. I didn't change my pitch, the world changed around me." India didn't just steal China's lunch, they added 5.2 million manufacturing jobs in 12 months. Young people who were farming their grandparents' land are now programming CNC machines. It's an industrial revolution compressed into the time it takes most governments to approve a permit. And here's the part that should terrify China. India's not stopping. They're targeting semiconductors next. The government just announced $10 billion in subsidies for chip manufacturing. Taiwan Semiconductor is building 3 fabrication plants in Gujarat. Samsung's expanding their chip facility in Uttar Pradesh. Within 5 years, India wants to manufacture 15% of the world's semiconductors. Right now they make less than 1%. That's not an upgrade. That's a complete transformation of their industrial identity. But wait, because Move 3 is where India separated themselves from every other developing economy trying to compete. Most countries, when they industrialize, they destroy their environment first and clean it up later. Britain did it. America did it. China's still doing it. India said, what if we skip that part entirely? The International Energy Agency released a report in January 2025 that stunned climate economists. India added 89 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity in 2024 alone. That's more than the entire EU combined. Solar farms covering areas the size of small cities. Wind turbines spinning across coastal Karnataka and Gujarat. And here's why this matters for the tariff story. Green manufacturing is becoming the only manufacturing that matters. The EU's carbon border adjustment mechanism kicks in fully in 2026. That means if you manufacture products using dirty energy, you pay a carbon tariff on top of regular tariffs. India saw this coming 3 years ago. Let me introduce you to Arjun Reddy. He's 41, owns a steel plant in Andhra Pradesh. In 2022, his entire operation ran on coal power. His EU clients started sending worried emails about future carbon costs. He had a choice: ignore it and lose customers, or transform his entire energy infrastructure. He chose transformation. Installed solar panels across 40 acres next to his factory. Added battery storage. Connected to India's green grid. His energy costs dropped 23%, and his EU clients signed 5-year contracts because they knew his steel would be carbon tariff exempt. He told me, I thought going green would be expensive virtue signaling. It became my competitive advantage. India's betting that by 2030, carbon tariffs will matter more than regular tariffs. And they'll be the only major manufacturer ready for it. But here's where things get controversial, because Move 4 is something no other country has even attempted at this scale. While everyone was obsessing over factories and tariffs, India quietly built something that's basically tariff-proof. And it might be the smartest economic move of the 21st century. Stanford's Digital Economy Lab study from November 2024 revealed something wild. India's digital services exports hit $350 billion last year. That's up 41% year over year. Here's the beautiful part. You can put tariffs on steel. You can tariff semiconductors, textiles, cars. But you can't tariff a software engineer working from an apartment in Hyderabad, writing code for a bank in New York. Kavita Sharma is 26. In 2022, she was earning $800 a month as a local web developer, barely covering rent. She freelances for 3 US Fortune 500 companies, remotely. makes $6,500 a month. No office, no visa issues, no tariffs. She told me, I compete with developers in San Francisco and charge 1/3 the price with the same quality. And no politician in Washington can stop that with a tariff threat. The stats are staggering. India now supplies 60% of global IT services. That's more than China, Philippines, and Eastern Europe combined. When you call customer service for your credit card, there's a 60% chance you're talking to someone in India. When a Fortune 500 company needs cloud migration, AI integration, cybersecurity, they're calling Bangalore. But here's what's really happening beneath the surface. India's not just doing customer service and basic coding anymore. They're moving up the value chain at terrifying speed. IBM's AI research division in Bangalore now has 4,000 employees, more than their facility in New York. Google's payment infrastructure for the entire Asia-Pacific region, built and managed from Hyderabad. Microsoft's cloud security protocols, designed in Pune. A Deutsche Bank report from February 2025 estimated that Indian tech professionals now control over $1.2 trillion worth of global digital infrastructure. They're not just writing code, they're architecting the systems that run global finance, healthcare, logistics, everything. And here's the kicker. This creates a reverse dependency that's unprecedented in economic history. Traditionally, rich countries had leverage over poor countries because poor countries needed rich country money and markets. But what happens when rich countries need poor country expertise to keep their entire digital economy running? You can't threaten India with tariffs when Indian engineers are the only ones who know how your banking system works. But that's not even the most aggressive move India made. Move 5 is so bold that it's either genius or insane, and we won't know which for another 3 years. India just announced they're weaponizing their domestic market as a negotiating tool. And the numbers behind this are absolutely wild. India has 1.4 billion people. By 2027, they'll have 800 million people in the middle class. That's more middle-class consumers than the entire United States and European Union combined. Every global company wants access to that market. Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Netflix, everyone. And India's government just told them, you want to sell here? Fine. But you're going to manufacture here too. Tesla wanted to import cars and sell them in India. India said no. Build a factory here, employ Indian workers, create an Indian supply chain, then you can sell. Elon Musk complained publicly. India didn't budge. Apple wanted to keep manufacturing primarily in China and just import to India. India raised import duties to 70% on foreign-made phones. Apple built factories in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka instead. This is economic judo at its finest. Use the opponent's desire for your market to force them to build your industrial capacity. Meera Joshi is 38, an economist at the Observer Research Foundation in New Delhi. She explained it to me like this. For 70 years, developing countries had to accept whatever terms rich countries offered because we needed them more than they needed us. That power dynamic just flipped. India has what everyone wants, a massive, young, growing consumer market. And we're finally leveraging it. But here's where the risk comes in, and why some economists think India's playing with fire. The World Bank's Trade Dynamics report from January 2025 has one sentence that should terrify every Indian policymaker. Quote, tariff-driven growth is 78% more volatile than organic expansion. Translation? What goes up on artificial conditions can crater when those conditions change. Anand Patel is 52. He manufactures automotive parts in Pune. When European demand surged in 2023, he overexpanded his production capacity by 300%. He took out loans, bought new machinery, hired 200 workers. He was riding high. But he can't sleep. His exact words, if US-India relations normalize, if those tariffs disappear, European companies might go back to their old suppliers. My new factories could sit empty. I gambled my retirement savings on tariff chaos lasting forever. If you've ever made a big bet on temporary conditions, a hot housing market, a crypto boom, a pandemic trend, you know that sick feeling in your stomach he's describing. And this is where it gets controversial. Because there are three major threats that could completely destroy India's tariff victory. And threat number 3 is already happening. Most people just haven't noticed yet. Threat number 1. Trump makes a deal. If Trump wins in 2024 and cuts a trade deal with India in 2025, suddenly all those companies that moved manufacturing to India to avoid tariffs? They might move back to China where infrastructure is still better, supply chains are more mature, and scale is easier. India's betting on sustained US-China tension. But what if that bet's wrong? What if geopolitics shift? Threat number 2, India's infrastructure can't keep up. Here's the dirty secret nobody wants to talk about. India added 5.2 million manufacturing jobs. That's incredible. But their ports are overwhelmed. Chennai port had a 17-day average delay for container ships in December 2024. Their power grid had brownouts in 6 states during peak manufacturing hours last summer. Their roads are congested, their railways are overloaded. Ravi Krishnan runs logistics for a German automotive supplier that just opened a plant outside Mumbai. He told me, the factory works great. Getting products from the factory to the port? That's where we lose 2 weeks and 15% of our cost advantage. India's racing to build infrastructure, but infrastructure takes decades, not months. And companies won't wait decades for traffic to clear. But threat number 3 is the one keeping Indian officials up at night, because it's not about economics. It's about demographics. And it's already starting. India's population is still young, which is an advantage. But birth rates are collapsing faster than anyone predicted. India's fertility rate dropped to 2.0 in 2024, right at replacement level. In cities like Delhi and Mumbai, it's 1.6, lower than the US. A UN Population Division study from December 2024 projected that India's working-age population will peak in 2043 and then decline for the next 50 years. Translation: India has exactly 19 years to leverage their demographic dividend before it disappears. China had 30 years of demographic advantage and became a superpower. India might have less than 20. And they're spending 5 of those years managing tariff chaos instead of building long-term productivity. Shruti Kapoor is a demographic economist at Niti Aayog, India's policy think tank. She told me something chilling. We're celebrating our population advantage while it's actively disappearing. Every year we waste, we're losing 2 million potential workers from our future demographic peak. This tariff boom might be a distraction from the real crisis. So here's the uncomfortable question. Is India winning the tariff war but losing the population war? But here's what's really fascinating. India's government knows all of this. And they're making a bet that's either brilliant or catastrophic. They're betting they can compress 50 years of development into 15 years by leveraging crisis. Use the tariff disruption to force infrastructure investment. Use the manufacturing boom to train workers faster. Use the digital services explosion to create high-productivity jobs before demographics turn negative. It's basically economic shock therapy by choice. Nirmala Sitharaman, India's finance minister, gave a speech in January 2025 that spelled this out explicitly. Quote, "We will not waste this crisis. Every challenge is being converted into an accelerant for reforms we should have made 20 years ago." That's either visionary leadership or dangerous hubris. Honestly, I can't tell which. Here's what I do know. The United States just noticed India's strategy. And they're not happy. The U.S. Trade Representative's February 2025 report has language that should concern everyone. Quote, "India's digital services advantage poses strategic concerns for American workforce competitiveness." That's diplomatic speak for, "We're coming for you next." There are already whispers in Washington about a Services Sector Fair Competition Act that would make it harder for U.S. companies to outsource to India. Nothing official yet. But the lobbying has started. India now faces a choice. Keep pushing their advantage, dominate digital services, manufacture everything from iPhones to electric cars, and risk becoming Trump's next major target in 2026. Or negotiate early. Lock in their gains. Trade some growth potential for security and long-term stability. The aggressive path. Push every advantage, damn the consequences, Bet that the US won't risk destabilizing a democracy of 1.4 billion people. The diplomatic path: give a little now, keep 80% of the gains, avoid the target that's painted on China's back. If you were India's prime minister, which would you choose? Maximum growth with maximum risk, or secure most of the gains permanently? Because here's the thing, India's not China. They don't have China's authoritarian control to force rapid infrastructure development. They don't have China's unified manufacturing ecosystem built over 40 years. They don't have China's geopolitical willingness to challenge the US directly. But India has something China doesn't. They're a democracy. And democracies have a weird advantage in long-term strategic competition. They're adaptable. They can change direction without regime change. They can admit mistakes without political collapse. The question is whether India's democracy can move fast enough to capitalize on this moment before it disappears. So here's what I want to know, and be honest in the comments. Is India's tariff win pure strategic genius, or just lucky timing? Because luck runs out, but strategy compounds. Should developing countries celebrate when superpowers fight, or is that dangerously short-term thinking? Would you move your manufacturing to India right now, or would you wait to see if this boom is real or just a bubble? And here's the biggest question. Do you think India can compress 50 years of development into 15 years? Or are they delusional about their demographic timeline? Because if India pulls this off, if they turn a trade war into a permanent economic leap forward, they won't just survive the tariff game. They'll rewrite the rules of global power for the next 50 years. And if they fail? Well, 1.4 billion people are betting they won't. What's your bet? Drop your prediction below. And if you think I missed the real danger India's facing, the one nobody's talking about, call it out. Let's debate this. Because something tells me we're going to be talking about this moment for decades, whether it was India's rise or India's warning sign.